Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be another movie and makeup. I'm going to be playing with the Blood Sugar palette. We're going to be talking about Underworld, the Underworld series, and the Blade series primarily. So I thought Blood Sugar would tie in, and I've been wanting to play with this and see if I can do a different look than what I normally do with this. So if that sounds interesting, that's what we're going to be doing today. It's going to be a full face. So hopefully I have enough to talk about to do during the whole face and I don't run out of material. So we'll see. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Make sure you're subscribed. I have a couple of giveaways going on my channel, and yeah, we're going to jump. So I have moisturized already. I'm going to put some sort of a primer on my face. Hopefully I've got enough content because I was going to do the full face instead of just the eyes in this video. So fingers crossed. But yeah, I figured I would talk about Underworld and Blade. This is kind of a like tie into the last one where I talked about, you know, movies with too many sequels. I think Underworld has entered into that category of movies where I think they should have stopped, because it's one of those where I know I saw the last movie, but I don't remember it. So that says something, because I really was a huge fan of the Underworld series up until probably the last movie. I just think they should have just stopped. And that's another one where Len Wiseman directed the first Underworld. He was a producer. He wrote the screenplay for 1 and 2. I don't know if I think he was a producer on Rise of the Lycans. I don't know if he directed Rise of the Lycans. I don't think he did, but I could be mistaken. But 1 and 2 and 3 are definitely cohesive movies. You have the same director. Like I said, Len, I'm pretty sure was involved in Rise of the Lycans. If he didn't direct it, I want to say that he did not direct it, but again, I could be wrong. But there was cohesion happening because you had the same producers. Now, he again wrote the screenplay for the first 2. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't look that much up into it before I filmed this. I had to look up and see how many Underworld movies there were. Now, there's a problem when I don't know, like in a franchise that I like, how many movies there actually were. Technically, there are 6 Underworld movies, which I didn't know there were 6. I thought there was 5. They actually did an animated film in 2011 called Underworld Endless Wars. It's very anime style as far as the aesthetic from what I saw online. Didn't even know that movie existed. It came out after Rise of the Lycans, before 5 and 6, what I thought were 4 and 5. So it came out, it was between 3 and 4 of the live action movies. So technically, there are 6 Underworld movies, which, again, when you have to look that up, I feel like you've made too many movies. But I'm not a big animated movie watcher. I mean, I like the kids movies, but like I'm pretty sure there was an animated Blade movie, unless I'm just crazy and made that up. I've never seen that either. My dad either owns it or, you know, watched it, but I'm not an anime person, never got into it. I think the one animated movie I do like is I think it's called The Last Vampire Hunter. I watched it in the early 90s. It was about, he's like a vampire hybrid similar to Blade. That's one of the only anime movies I think I've ever watched in its entirety, but it's just not my cup of tea. So that's probably why I didn't. If I had heard about it, I just kind of fell off the radar. I wasn't really paying attention to it. Where did I put my foundation that I've been using? Did I accidentally put it in the concealer drawer? I did. Okay. I'm not going to put, actually, I will try out a BB cream that I haven't tried yet because I don't necessarily feel like putting foundation on my face. Now I forgot what I was saying. I'm not a big animated movie watcher, so that's probably why I didn't know that movie existed. But anyways, there are 6 Underworld movies. 5 live action, 1 animated film. Okay, so Len Wiseman wrote the screenplays and directed and was an executive producer on 1 and 2 for sure. I'm pretty sure he was a producer on Rise of the Lycans, but again, I don't know. Now, where it starts to get dodgy for me, 4 was a questionable movie. It was okay. Definitely better than 5. Like I said, I know I saw 5, and 5 was one of those where I started watching it and I fell asleep and had to go back because I forgot, like almost a year later, that I hadn't seen the whole movie. So I went back and I have watched all of 5, but I don't remember what happened. It's one of those I need to go back and probably watch it again, but it's like, I'm going to probably be disappointed because it just wasn't that good. And I'm pretty sure the guy, I can't remember his character's name, the one that played the one that becomes the Lycan vampire hybrid, he wasn't in 4, and I don't remember if they were able to get him to come back for 5, and I don't really remember what happened to his character. Did he die? Because I remember in 4, he was in the cryo tank, and they didn't bring him out, mainly because I don't think the actor wanted to make the movie. Something happened with that. I don't remember what happened. See, that's how good of a movie it was. I don't even remember what the plot of 5 was, so that's a problem. Again, that's a clear sign to me, not that my opinion's the only one that matters, but when you like a franchise, because I'm a huge fan of 1, 2, and 3, and you reach a point where you're like, I'm not even excited to watch this movie. After 4, when 5 came out, I was like, clearly, because it took me a year to watch the whole movie, you know, there's, like, those are warning signs for me for a franchise. Fun fact, I did mention when I talked about movies with like too many sequels, it may have been in that one, it may have been in another movie. I had mentioned that the big black guy that played the werewolf in the first Underworld was actually, like, he's a scientist, he's like a geneticist, some sort of biochem, you know, something, I forget what his actual like degree is in, but he was one of the like genetic consultants on the movie, so that the genetic stuff that they're talking about when they're looking for Michael, I just remembered the character's name, Corbin, like the genetic stuff they're talking about is actually fairly accurate as far as genetics and all of that, how that works, I guess. So he was the consultant, but he also played the werewolf. But another fun fact, because I had a subscriber comment that, oh, she didn't know that, and that was really interesting, and she thought that was cool. So I have another fun fact. The guy, and I forget the actor's name, he was in Good Omens. He's been in a lot. He's a British actor. The guy that played Lucian was actually Kate Beckinsale's partner for years. That is the father of her daughter. I think they were together for 12 or 14. I don't think they were actually married. I think they were just together. But they, you know, split up. She was actually married to Len Wiseman when she made the first and second movies. They are no longer married. They have since gotten divorced, but I don't think they have any children together. I think she just has the one child that she had with the guy that played Lucian. Like I said, I can't remember the actor's name, but so you've got her current husband who is directing her technically ex-husband. We'll call him her ex-husband, even though, like I said, I don't know if they were actually married, but so that was happening. And then in the second one, her current husband has to direct the sex scene with the actor that played Michael, because her current husband's the director. So that whole situation was happening. And the actor did an interview, and he said that was one of the most awkward scenes he's ever filmed in his life, because he was really like timid and didn't really want to like get in there and do it. And here's her husband who's directing the scene, like, you need to get in there and you need to really like kiss her and do this and do that. And they're naked, like partially. And her husband's directing it, and he said that was one of the most awkward scenes he's ever filmed ever in his life, which I can imagine. And it's amazing, and I really applaud them for being able to, like, her and her husband both, to be, you know, to separate that, you know, and they're actors and he was directing. But yeah, her, at the time, current husband had to direct that scene. So that's, if you weren't aware, she was married to Len Wiseman. They have since gotten divorced, but yeah, she was married to him while they were making those movies. So I'm sure that was, like I said, the actor that plays Michael was like, yeah, that was not a fun time for him. But I don't know that it really bothered anybody else, because like I said, he wrote the screenplay, so he knew it was in there and that she was going to have to film it. And she, you know, everybody was professional about it. But for him personally, he said he had an awkward time with that, which I can't blame the poor guy. But so that's another, like, if you were not aware that she was married to him, she was married to Len Wiseman. He is an American director, producer. She is, obviously, she's British. If you didn't know, she's British. And the guy that plays Lucian is also a British actor. But yeah, they were involved for a long time. And then I don't know, I think her and Len Wiseman were married for like 5 years or 9 years, something. Like, it was less than 10. She was with the guy that played Lucian. Like I said, I think it was like 12 years or something. I read that online because I didn't realize. I think it was after I saw the first Underworld when I realized she had been in a relationship with him. And yeah, they had a daughter together. So obviously they got along, because she had to work with him during Underworld. And then, like I said, her current husband's directing her ex-husband, and then current husband has to like direct sex scene with some other guy. It's like, geez, that sounds super complicated when you put it like that. But the movies got made and we went on. But Underworld, I think definitely, I swear, if they make another Underworld, I'm going to be really mad, because like the last one was not good. I don't even remember what the plot was about. I need to go back and watch it. So yeah, I'm going to be really upset if they make any more Underworld movies. I don't think Len was involved with the last two. I'm going to have to go back and look it up. But if he was, it was just as a producer, because he did not, I did look up, he did not direct the last one. I did look that up before filming this, because I could not remember. I didn't think that he did. I think he stopped after two. I want to say he didn't direct Rise of the Lycans, but I think he was a producer, at least with that. Which is why I think those movies were better, because I did have a subscriber, The Truth, he has a channel. He commented when I was talking about the Blade movies that he hadn't realized that there wasn't like very much cohesion happening with the Blade movies. And it's one of those things, if you watched them when they came out in the theaters, like you saw one and then you didn't watch it again, and then you went and saw two, and then when three came out, like if you don't really notice it unless you sit down and watch them binge watch them in a row. And it's something I noticed a few years ago, because I really wasn't aware of it until because it was one of those, I would watch one and then months later I watched two. When you sit and watch them back to back, you can really see the difference. And so I think that started happening with Underworld, because he stepped away, and I think it's one of those, the studio owns the rights. So I don't know that Len Wiseman necessarily wanted to keep making Underworld movies, which is probably why he didn't stop directing them. But the studio at that point owns it. It's no longer yours, whether you created it or not, and you don't have as much control. And if they want to keep making them, they're going to keep making them. So they start to lose their cohesion, and they're just not as good. I mean, Kate Beckinsale is still, I'm sure she would come back. She really likes the character Celine. I think she said it's one of, obviously because she still makes them. And at the end of the day, I think for her, you know, it's a paying job. She still has to make money at the end of the day too. So I don't know if she's ever said that she'll never do another one, but I'm sure if they approached her and the amount was right and she thought it was somewhat of a decent script, she would probably do another one. I don't know that she's ever said she will never do any more. I have to look that up. But I think it's important, if you're gonna make a bajillion movies, to at least have some consistency. I think that's why the Scream movies came across so well, and I need to see, because I'm pretty sure that Wes Craven had passed away when the 4th movie was made, but they tried to really make sure that it felt like a Wes Craven movie, even though he didn't direct it. I'm almost positive that that was said by like Neve Campbell and some of the cast when they were doing interviews about it. They really wanted to stick, because he did 1, 2, and 3. And I think that's why the Scream sequels worked so well, because there's consistency, the tone is the same, you got all of the actors to come back. It did help a little bit with Underworld that Kate Beckinsale came back, but like I said, the guy that played Michael wasn't in 4, and I think that hurt that movie a lot. I think if they had been able to do it with him and have him be more of the plot, because you see him in the background and that's it. He's in the cryo tank, but I think that would have come a long way had they been able to have them come back and the dynamic been there, because it does affect the tone of the movie and how things come across. I'm gonna pause and do my eyebrows really quick, and then we'll come back and continue with my rant. It's hard for me to do my brows on camera. I've talked about that in get readies with me, so I figured nobody really needed to see that struggle. And then it's also hard for me to talk, so then I wouldn't be saying anything and you'd have to watch me struggle, and there's all that. So I think, I still think they were planning on doing another Blade movie. I've heard back and forth that it was going to be a reboot. They were looking at new actors to take over the role. I would watch, and I think I've mentioned this before. I would be willing to watch a 4th Blade movie if they brought Wesley Snipes back. If they reboot the franchise and have somebody else, I don't know that I'm necessarily going to be excited for it. Because I feel like they're going to go in and they're going to remake the first movie, and it's going to pretty much be the same movie with a different person. And I don't really see the point in doing that, because Blade's character is a hybrid and ages like a human. So you don't necessarily need to bring in a younger actor. Wesley Snipes can continue to play the role. So I don't think it's necessary to reboot it. We need to look past. There's a lot of actors. I don't understand why some actors can do bad things and still have a career. And like Wesley Snipes, yes, there was tax evasion. Yes, he fled the country. Yes, he got in trouble. Do I think that he should have gotten in trouble? Yes. But do I think we need to condemn him and never let him make another movie? No. Robert Downey Jr. had a drug problem for 2 decades. Was in and out of rehab, was in jail, out of jail. He's Iron Man. So why does he get to come back? And I like Robert Downey Jr., so I'm not knocking him for being able to come back. But I don't understand why he gets to come back, and then like Wesley Snipes, we're just going to burn him at the stake and condemn him for the end of time. And that has happened with other actors. Like some people they give a pass to, and some people they're just like, no, we're done. Which I think is unfortunate, because like I said, I would be willing to watch another Blade. And I don't really care at this point who directs it, because those movies, we already said, are not cohesive. So as long as Wesley Snipes is in it, I think it would be okay. As long as it was done at the scale that the other movies. If it's going to be like this cheap straight to video thing, just leave it alone. We don't need to do it. But yeah, if they could get him to come back, and I think he would do another one, because I'm sure he's still trying to rebuild his finances. He makes straight to video movies. I'm pretty sure if Paramount or whomever owns Blade approached him and said, hey, we're going to make another one, I'm sure he would do it. I don't know that he's sitting at home thinking, I'm never going to do another Blade movie ever again. I'm sure they could get him to come back. So yeah, but I don't know that I really want him to reboot that franchise. Just leave it at the 3 movies if you're not going to do a 4th one with Wesley Snipes. That's kind of like, nobody's listening to me, so they may do one anyway, but that's just my opinions on that down below. You can let me know. I get tired of the Spider-Man movies. Have really burned me out on the X-Men movies as far as rebooting and starting over, and it's like, really, can we just leave it alone, please? I don't think everything needs to be rebooted. I think, and I did talk about the Friday the 13th movies in my movies with too many sequels. I think Friday the 13th gets a little bit of a pass, and I think that's why, like, I went and saw Jason X in the theater. Like that, it's hysterical if you've never seen it. There's a scene, it's in space. So there's that. It's not a serious film. Jason's cryogenically frozen. There's a company that finds him and they want to study him, and it's like a floating school research something or other. They bring him up, he gets out, they wake him up, he gets out, blah blah, and wreaks havoc on the ship. That's the gist. There's a scene in the movie where he's in the hologram, like they're trying to contain him and capture him because they realize they made a whoopsie. He's in the hologram chamber and they have like the camp scene, and he's got the camper in the sleeping bag and he's just like swinging it. And I think at one point you see it click in his head that this isn't real, but it's hysterical, which in a normal setting that wouldn't be funny, but in that movie, it to me, it's hysterical. So if you've never seen Jason X, it's a funny watch. It really is. I think it's funny. I think Jason gets a little bit of a pass because the Friday the 13th movies kind of set themselves up pretty early that there wasn't like cohesion happening with those movies. Once you get past 4, I mean, 5 kind of has the character from 4 in it, but it's a stretch. So I think they're ones where people will watch those movies even though they're not cohesive. If you watched the previous movie, like, they don't make sense after a while and they turn into a little bit of a mess, but they get a pass because they never claimed to be something that they're not. Like, they set themselves up to be like that pretty early on. So I think the Friday the 13th movies get a little bit of a pass, which is why I don't really understand why I think maybe people got upset at Freddy versus Jason because the Friday the 13th. The Nightmare on Elm Street movies were a little more like tonally serious than the Friday the 13th. I don't think anybody watches a Friday the 13th movie for the plot. They watch those movies because Jason's iconic and they want to see him walk around with a machete and cut people into little pieces. If you watch the Friday the 13th movies for the plot, there is no shade, but none of those movies have a super heavy plot line, so I don't know that anybody's been watching Friday the 13th for the plots. But Jason's an iconic character, so I don't know why, like, people got upset that Freddy versus Jason was a little bit campy. Have there been any Friday the 13th that weren't other than the first 2? Like, I don't know what people expected that movie to be because the Friday the 13th are a little bit comical to me. I don't know why people got all uppity. I think Freddy versus Jason is funny. I don't necessarily think it's a serious watch, but it's a good watch. The Truth told me that they're thinking about, Robert Englund is thinking about coming back and possibly doing another one. I hope he does. I love him. Hopefully they can work out. I think they can work out the makeup issues. Like I said, it was a little bit lower of a production, which is probably also where some of the makeup issues he was having with Friday the 13th came into play. Or Friday the 13th. I can't even remember what I'm talking about now. The Freddy versus Jason movie, he was having issues with the makeup adhering to his face, but it was a little bit lower of a budget, I think, compared to probably some of the others. I don't know. Hopefully, I wouldn't mind if Robert Englund came back. I've always liked him. let me know if anybody's ever seen the original V. He is one of the, he's the alien in the original that helps the humans. He's very young in that movie. If you've never seen it, it's worth watching. So we're going to try, I am going to use the blood sugar palette. I need to prime my eyes, not again because I want to support Jeffree Star. If you follow the makeup drama, Morphe announced that they're not going to carry Jeffree Star products anymore, which is fine. When they said they weren't going to carry the Conspiracy collection, I kind of felt like that was hypocritical for them to continue to carry Jeffree Star. So I feel like if they're going to have that stance, then they're at least going about it the correct way. Jeffree Star released a statement saying he was saddened and, you know, shocked that Morphe made that decision, but I don't know how that's going to affect Morphe moving forward, because Jeffree Star has been a big part in the Morphe community for a while, helping open stores, and I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I don't know that I'm going to be buying from Morphe anyway, so it doesn't really bother me if you care about the makeup at all. But yeah, I think the Friday the 13th movies get overlooked. So yeah, I had mentioned that I'm going to be mad if they make any more Underworld movies. I really am. I think Kate Beckinsale would probably continue to do the role. At some point, you just gotta say enough and walk away. Like, you gotta accept, we've milked the franchise as much as we're gonna milk the franchise, and then let's move on to something else. I don't know. I'm probably going to get some backlash if there's some big horror fans that watch this. I don't thankfully get a ton more on the unboxings, which is fine, but I think there's too many Saw movies. I said that. I'm sorry. The Saw community is not a community you want to go after, and I'm not trying to start any drama. I think there are too many Saw movies, and I had a subscriber that thought it was hysterical that I made a Spaceball reference, which is what I think about when I think about the Saw movies. There's a scene, and I'll say it again because it's always what I think about when they keep making these horror movie sequels. There's a scene in Spaceballs where they show the theater, and it's like Rocky 5000, because they made a lot of Rocky movies, which is funny because at the time that Spaceballs came out, there wasn't as many as there is now. But that's how I feel like with Saw. We're going to have Saw 5000. Now, the only movie that the Saw fans that I have seen that really don't like is Jigsaw, which I saw Jigsaw. I don't think Jigsaw was a horrible movie. Did it need to be made? No, it did not need to be made. But I don't think it was horrible. I mean, it was a better sequel than some that I've seen. But that seems to be really the only movie that the fans were really like, that movie was horrible, it didn't need to happen. Like I said, Saw fans are loyal. They're no joke. You don't want to go piss those people off, because that is a thick community. And it's funny because my fiance Mike does not like horror movies. I think I've said this in videos before if I haven't. Mike does not like horror movies. He is not a fan. I pretty much watch him when he's not here. He's a truck driver, so he's gone a lot, so that works out. It's fine. Yeah, Mike does not like horror movies. He likes the Saw movies, which I've always thought is interesting. I'm like, because the Saw movies are gory. And it's more realistic gore than like Friday the 13th to me. I mean, even the Hellraiser movies are gory, but it's not, to me, Hellraiser's more of a fake gore, whereas Saw, like, obviously Saw seems like is much more likely to happen than like Hellraiser. So I always thought it was interesting that he's seen them all. Like, he's seen all of the Saw movies. He really likes them. And if there's another Saw movie that comes out, he'll watch it. We watched Jigsaw together. He was excited for it. Which, yeah, like, that blows my mind a little bit you don't like horror movies. And you won't watch Friday the 13th because I don't know if he thinks they're stupid. He may, probably. But yeah, he really likes the Saw movies. So the Saw movies have an interesting fan base, interesting following. Like I said, they are very loyal. the consensus that I've gotten from the community is that they hate Jigsaw, which, again, I saw Jigsaw. I don't think it didn't need to be made, but it wasn't the worst sequel I've ever seen. We can talk about Halloween Resurrection if we want to talk about that. And Jason X. Like I said, Jason X to me and Halloween Resurrection are just funny. If you've got some time to kill and there's nothing on, it's like Leprechaun 4, I think, when he's in space. There's just some movies where it's like the studio was just had some money that they wanted to throw away. But yeah, I've always thought that was interesting that Mike is not a horror fan, doesn't like horror movies, but likes the Saw franchise. Will watch those, has seen them all. I think at one point Mike had watched them all and I hadn't seen them all because there were so many coming out, I kind of lost track. And I think I got mad after 3 because it was at a point where they were just making sequels for movies to make sequels. So at one point, Mike had seen them all and I hadn't. And I think I've gone back and watched them all because Sci-Fi does like to show those movies in October. So I did, even though I watched them on Sci-Fi, I did go back and watch them. But yeah, fun little tidbit. Mike is a Saw fan. I will watch the Saw. The 2 movies I have never seen are Hostel. I have a hard time with realistic torture. The Saw movies have a little bit, there's a plot and like the twists, and I like the mental, like the serial killer, and they're a little more methodical, I guess would be the word. But I do have a hard time with realistic torture. So that's why I've never seen Hostel. Now this is normally what I do with this palette. I'm going to try and incorporate like prick and cherry soda, and we're going to see how that goes. So let's do cherry soda first, because normally I do this and then I take the fuchsia and it ends up looking super pink. I pretty much, if you watch the Get Ready With Me where I'm using this, that look is pretty much the only look that I do with this palette. So I'm trying to like branch out and see if I can get a different look with this, because this palette was expensive and I feel like everybody uses this palette more than I do, because I don't necessarily love it. So we'll see if I can get a different kind of look happening in here. I don't know. So yeah, there's a lot of controversy in the makeup community, unfortunately, again. See, and I don't know how I feel about that. I may end up taking this off. After I'm done filming this, I may not leave this on. I don't know. I probably should have went in with some different colors maybe and not used Extraction. This palette, I don't know. Like, I don't hate this palette, but it's definitely, I don't use it as much as I thought I was going to when I bought it. So let me know if there's movies, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a horror movie. I mean, we are talking about horror movies, so if there's horror movies you're waiting for, are there movies where you think, what are some movies that, horror movies that you think have too many sequels? Could maybe turn that into a series, because I like, there's a lot. Like I said, they just keep making them, and it starts to get ridiculous. Maybe I'll take a little bit of fresh meat. There's some interesting shade names in this palette. I see, and I don't know that I necessarily like this look. Already I'm like, eh. That's probably why when I use this palette, I end up just doing that same like watermelon-y eye, because I have a hard time with some of the shades in here. I could probably at some point try and use, there's a brown in here. I don't know. I'm not really happy with the way this is turning out, so I'm probably just gonna stop and we will end it there. So yeah, let me know So just kind of a me talking, playing a little bit. Let me know if there's some other movies, horror movies that you think have too many sequels, because we can keep doing these kinds of horror movies with too many sequels movies. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this wasn't too boring. I didn't finish the look, but I'm not really happy with it, so I think I'm going to take it off and start over. And yeah, hopefully you have a good rest of your day, and I will hopefully see you all in another video very soon. Make sure you subscribe before you leave, and yeah, that's all I have for you today. Bye, everybody.